Are we? Oh, are we?
I'm getting notifications that we're not. We're live. Did that just happen?
Hi, everyone. We're live now? Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome. This is Speedify Starlink Talk. We are here to talk about SpaceX's Starlink internet service and how Speedify can make it better. Technically, I think I have to use a question mark for that for legal reasons, but really, we do make it better. That's just a fact.
We do.
Yeah,
it's clear.
I'm Matt. I am part of the social media team. Specifically, I'm helping run the Twitter. And next to me is my boss, CEO Alex. Say hi, Alex.
Hi, Alex.
I never get over
I'm
that
sorry.
joke.
I apologize.
No.
It's not my thing.
No, I love it. I love it. Now, on the off chance anyone tuning in does not know what Speedify is, first of all, I would love to hear how you ended up on here because we want to reach out our brand a little bit. But also, we are a VPN that allows internet and cellular bonding. What that means is that we are able to make your internet connection more secure, more reliable, and overall better for you. We do this by using channel bonding technology, allowing you to merge multiple streams together. So for anyone doing live streams like we are, the ability to bounce off, say, have your Wi-Fi connection and your cellular connection both be able to combine is really a lifesaver to help keep your stream up. Right now, we're both using Speedify in connection with our favorite live streaming app right now, StreamYard, which is able to let us stream directly onto Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So however you're tuning in, we're happy to have you. And thanks to Speedify, I know I'm using. Yep, there's our little graphic. Love that one. By the way, we also have Ryan here. Ryan is part of the social media team who is hiding behind the curtain, doing the graphics for us. So I just want everyone to say hi, Ryan. But anyway, yeah. So I know I'm using Wi-Fi and cellular. Alex, I know you like using Ethernet because you are old school, classic. But one internet connection I think most of us are looking forward to using in the future is satellite. And the big one there is definitely SpaceX and Starlink. So as the Speedify CEO, what do you think of that?
Mostly, I think it looks great. Right. So this is Elon Musk's SpaceX has this new Starlink internet service, and they've put up 1,500 satellites, which is 1/3 of all of the satellites in space now. Our space.
I didn't know about that. That's amazing.
Oh yeah, and he's putting up more on a regular basis. He's launching batches of 60. I think the plan is for them to be more than half of all satellites. So they're 350 miles up, beaming down internet. $99 a month. The latency seems nice and low. The bandwidth is variable. It goes from 10 megabits to 400 megabits. When a satellite is right over you, you get 400 megabits of bandwidth, and it is unbelievable. And if the satellites are drifting off and there's none overhead, it goes down to 10, or some people report having it cut off twice a day for a few seconds until the next satellite comes.
See, my answer for that was going to be just like trying to get like a lasso or something and tie a satellite right under your house with like a tether. I think we actually saw a story though of someone with the more unique option of putting a satellite dish right on their car and trying to track one down. I'm pretty sure we heard about.
Do we have a picture of this? Yeah.
Yeah, we do have the picture of that. I mean, it's not smart. I think it's creative.
I mean, so for one thing, you can't drive that far, right? And Elon Musk has said they're working on this and they're going to fix it. But each dish is set to work in one cell. And if you wander out of that cell, it stops working. So one of the tricks to why satellite internet in the past has had terrible latency, right? Because a lot of them have been hitting geosynchronous satellites, which are 30,000 miles up, and then coming back down from there, and you reach the point where the speed of light becomes significant, and you end out with most of a second of latency just beaming all the way up and all the way down.
How cool is it that the speed of light factors into you watching a YouTube video, though? That's pretty fun. I've had internet go down because Comcast, and I think it's more fun to have like Albert Einstein be the reason.
The speed of light is not that fast, right? I mean, the moon is more than a second away. It's terrible.
This is some real tech engineer talk when you get to the point where they're like, well, the speed of light isn't that fast, really, when you think about it. It's not going that well. No.
But the way SpaceX works, and this is important, he sets up base stations on the ground that beam internet up to the satellites that bounce it straight back down.
Oh, so that's why they're like ground stations.
They're ground stations, and so there are cells where it's covered, and there are lots of other spots on Earth where the satellites are going overhead, and there's no nearby ground stations, so it just doesn't work, right? He's rolling out region by region. You sign up and you give your address, and when there's a ground station within, whatever it is, 100 miles of you, then you're told you got into the beta.
You keep killing my buzz for tying the satellite dish to the top of my car and trying that again. I really thought that guy had something there, and I'm a little disappointed that's not going to be the case.
I think he realized just how many people are driving around this country in RVs these days, right? I mean, the RV market is like, I think it's significant for him to have every RV. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's also there's a lot of rural spots. Just when you're in the what many people would consider the middle of nowhere, and it's the same. Probably not near that's someplace where people, the satellite internet would be big, and I can see why they're excited to get part of it.
The last couple batches of satellites, and this is crazy, by the way, no two batches, according to the SpaceX engineers, no two batches of satellites have been the same. Right? They load 60 satellites onto a rocket, they launch it, they make a couple changes in the design of the satellite, they launch more, right? And then they make a couple more changes, and so every set of 60 satellites is different than all the other satellites. So there are the points where they started painting it black because astronomers were complaining so much. And now the last two batches of satellites, I think that's right, have had built-in lasers to talk to the other satellites. And so obviously the plan is to make it so that he can extend the internet far beyond the base stations to start hitting ships and stuff. But I think as soon as he does that, we're going to start seeing the terrible latencies that you see from other internet providers. But it's better than no internet, right?
Yeah, well, I would say so. Some people. Look,
this is what the ground stations look like. The ground stations. They're these ugly little mushroom farms.
That's incredible. Right? Yeah, the white caps they are. Yeah, no, I see.
The white caps.
I'm amazed Ryan was able to track that down. Good job, Ryan.
That's what it looks like. So they put like 8 of them in one spot, and according to their press releases, they get an internet connection from Google. That they're hooked into the Google data centers, whatever the nearest Google data center is.
That's amazing. So while that's developing, then as CEO of Speedify, how do you see Speedify working into that equation as these satellite internet becomes more and more expansive, and especially as those latency problems you mentioned start growing as SpaceX and as Starlink enters its growing pains phase?
Right. So we've been mostly lurking on the Reddit Starlink discussion boards. Most of us are in Philly, in the city, and it's not a service area yet. So we're doing a lot of remote support, helping people, and a lot of people are delighted. There was that graph that yes. Oh. Was this Nelson Minar did this?
Mm-hmm. I remember Nelson.
Yes. I don't know him personally. Now I follow him on Twitter. So this guy, got Starlink. Noticed it was so variable. He was completely frustrated. So then he ended up building scripts in order to log and graph the SpaceX performance. and that led him to trying to connect both, a slow internet connection from, who did it end up being? Cox? I can't quite see. It's a little too small. And
I think that sounds right.
And Starlink, and using Speedify to smooth things out. And if you look at that top row of the graph, my screen is so tiny I can't see. The difference between the peak speeds, right here, you see it. He's getting 350 megabits sometimes, and then other times the same day, he's getting 10 megabits. I mean, that top graph, I think it's basically sinusoidal, right?
You can see.
As the satellite comes over, the speed gets higher and higher and higher, and then it passes over. It starts getting lower and lower and lower, and then the next one comes, and so using Speedify, he ends out, smoothing it all out, right?
It's less artistically satisfying looking at the graph, but I think using the actual internet service, I think it'd be a lot more satisfying having the more reliable static connection there.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's amazing. That's, having the graph right there to really put into focus just what Speedify can do to sand those edges off and really make the experimental more feasible for this.
So there are other people who saw this and tried it out. And, here's a guy. Mm-hmm. This guy combined it with LTE, right? Because for him, the Starlink actually went out. He loses internet twice a day, but not with Speedify anymore. Now he switches and he's just on LTE for a little bit, which is so much better. And Speedify is it's cost aware. You can tell it the Starlink's unlimited bandwidth, so you mark that as primary. The cellular might not be unlimited, so you mark it as secondary. You can even put a rate limit on it if you're just trying to make sure you don't go off. And,
I mean, I think that's one of those features I think people don't pay enough attention to, how it's customizable to really make it, as effective as possible for everyone.
Right.
And I think that's especially for as the technology changes, because we know Starlink's changing every single day. They're going to be changing and making it more accessible and prioritizing different factors. I think that customizability of Speedify is really going to be able to make sure you're optimizing.
You know what else the Starlink people say? This is kind of crazy.
What?
They actually upgrade the software on the satellites every week.
Really?
That's what they claim. Yeah, they're
Man, it's got to be expensive.
Development shop, right?
It's got to be expensive sending a guy up there to update it every day, but every week. But maybe they can hitch a ride on the ISS.
Switching out all those punch cards in orbit.
They probably. I wonder if they can still hear the whistle. I don't think there's sound in space, so I guess it's just more of a. I'm imagining the old punch card from like the Looney Tunes cartoons. I believe that's how it works at SpaceX. State of the art.
Yeah. That's right.
With all that said, with that distraction aside, what kind of what do you think is like the future of Starlink? What do you think is coming up, and then what can we prepare for?
So we have built a test environment here with servers and routers, and the routers are running network emulation software to let us simulate any kind of internet connection we want. And we've been using this for ages to simulate, fast Wi-Fi, slow Wi-Fi, fast cellular, slow cellular, to test all these scenarios that real world users are having. So now we've added to it a whole series of what we called Starlink tests, where the internet gets faster and slower and faster and slower and occasionally dips to zero and then comes right back and just goes up and down the way that our Starlink users are seeing. We have found at least 2 spots where Speedify could do better. So there are engineers working on this right now, So
I appreciate that.
I'm thinking that 3 weeks from now, we're going to ship a new release that does much, much better on internet connections that endlessly get better and worse. It's a little different than what cellular does, and it's very different than what Wi-Fi does.
I guess I could see how satellite might be a little bit different from ground connections. Fiber optics or anything like that. I could see how that might have some different changes to it. But that's exciting. It's
yeah, and in the ancient past, we've done some testing with some of the other satellite providers, but Starlink's just entirely different, right? With them, there was this huge latency.
Well,
actually, I don't think other services had much more consistent but bad performance and terrible latency. where the Starlink, sometimes it's wonderful and sometimes it's, well, honestly, sometimes it's only twice as good as the other guys. I mean, it really is a good service. Don't think for a second.
I mean, Elon's definitely here to change the game, and I appreciate that from him. So for you're saying that Speedify is constantly changing and all that. Is there anything like Speedify users who are trying to test it with? I know that we have a lot of Speedify users who are downloading it to try it with Starlink. They get Starlink and they're running into some of these obstacles that are coming up, and they're downloading Speedify to smooth out those edges, like we talked about. Is there anything that they can do to actually help us, make those adjustments and make sure that Speedify can optimize their Starlink connection?
Yeah, so for one thing, if you see anything bad, if you think this is not working right, we want to hear it. In the menu of the app, if you click the little hamburger, there's a generate logs at the bottom. You click that, it'll make an email to us with a zip file with all these network stats attached. So if you just write a couple sentences about how you're using SpaceX and you saw this problem or that problem, and send it in to us, we would love to see that.
So like for example, if you were to be like Virgin Galactic hosting a live stream for your space event, and you run into some minor issues with your international live stream, that would be a kind of time when you send the logs in, so that someone could piece through those, maybe see what happened there.
Yeah, I would love to help those guys. I don't know all the details, right? But I mean, the way that stream failed on them.
For anyone who did not see yesterday, Richard Branson and Virgin Galactic had their big space flight yesterday. The first one kind of beat Bezos and Musk to be the first in subspace orbit. And from what I can tell, the flight went great, but the live stream announcing it slightly less. So Richard Branson, if somehow you're watching this, call us. We can get you a Speedify license. We can make sure this never happens again. Or at least if it does, we can at least maybe help you out a little bit with it.
Yeah, they managed to get just a couple pixelated pictures out.
real fuzzy, like an old 1990s Mars Explorer. When they sent the little robots to Mars.
So Speedify does all sorts of, if there was just packet loss. I mean, so of course what we're famous for is the 2 internet connections, use them both. But of course it could be more than 2. And even if you only have 1, we do a lot of smarts about retransmitting packets. So if you have an internet connection that's dropping, say, 10% of packets, you won't be able to stream video on it unless you have Speedify, in which case it'll be we'll turn it into a working link. Now, if they were, I don't know what they were actually like. If they were dropping 90% of packets, there's a point where, hey, we're broken too. But there's a lot of bad situations where we turn it from crap into a working connection.
From crap into a working connection. I want to see that on a shirt.
That's our motto.
That's gonna be the next. That's the next mark. Bad internet sucks is what we're pitching right now. But I think from crap into working, I think we can work with that one too. We'll kick that around soon. But no, I mean, this has been really. I mean, I'm very excited to hear all this.
So there's one more thing, and I see we have a bit of an audience, and so this is a legitimate question for people. Other people have reverse engineered the protocol between the Starlink app that they give you when you sign up for service and the router. So Starlink gives you this app that tells you, the signal strength and the latency and whether or not a tree is blocking, your view of the sky. All that stuff that's in that app, we now have access to it if we want. So right now we're not doing anything with it. We're sort of arguing about it, but we could use any of that. Like we could automatically detect this is a Starlink, and change the logo to a SpaceX logo instead of, we probably show Wi-Fi right now. And we could change some settings, and we could show some more stats. I'm really interested, if there are any SpaceX users out there in the audience, what do you think we should do with that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great segue. I was hoping. I know we've got some people tuning in right now and want to see if we have any questions about Starlink. I think that's definitely, especially if you're using it, we want to hear from you right now immediately. I don't even care if you have anything interesting to say. Just say hi. I use both. But any questions you have, we'd love to hear it. And definitely, if you have any opinions on what you think Speedify should be using. I'm in the pre-order list, but still waiting for the dish to ship. I'll definitely get some testing when I get up and running. Thank you, Zach. Yeah, legitimately, thank you. Please.
Yeah, I bet you anything you're actually waiting for one of those base stations of mushrooms to be put up in your neighborhood.
Zach does not know that he actually volunteered to have his backyard turned into a ground station. But he probably will have pretty good Wi-Fi, so I think that might be worth it. But Zach, thank you for that. Legitimately, if you can reach out to us. We'd love to stay in contact with you as you're using it, and if you have any more, we keep in touch with you as that develops. Just want to if you have any other questions in the audience, mushroom farm life, yes,
that's right.
I'm gonna be disappointed if he doesn't have a mushroom farm in his backyard now. I wish I had a well since I live in Florida in an RV using 4 LTE lines. Oh, I could definitely see how you could be wanting an extra little bit of a satellite boost there. That's a great. I mean, yeah.
RVs, they need better.
Sue's coming. Yeah, you were just saying that RV life. It's growing, and it's time for internet providers to really address that. I'm using both from Sue. My Starlink cuts out for a few seconds a number of times a day, partly due to beta and partly obstructions. Speedify is the only way I can use Zoom, but it still glitches. Well, that is. I'm happy that Speedify is at least coming in and helping you out a little bit to piece that together. You should definitely, like Alex said, if you want to send those logs in, I think we could see if there's anything we could do to help you out.
I gotta be honest. I keep thinking about getting an RV, but the dead-eyed looks that my wife and kids give me, it turns out they're not tempted in the slightest.
You've been honed in on RV this whole time.
Silently until Daddy stops talking, right?
I think it's gonna come down. You have to surprise them. You have to just show up in an RV one day and say, "This is life now." Be bold. Sue is sending in the logs. Thank you, Sue. Yeah, keep sending those in. Because like Alex said, we're making adjustments every single day. And hopefully we're gearing up for that next patch that would hopefully be able to make it even better and keep your Zoom going. That's so crazy. It's also still weird to think how much Zoom has become important the last year. Probably would not be now. It's the most important thing to be working on with Speedify. But yeah, no, I mean, keep sending those in, and those that's amazing. And I know you guys are working every single day. We don't have our own mushroom farm yet, so we have to rely on everyone else's. Do you think we could get one? Do you think we could sign up to have the ground station at the Speedify offices, like on the roof or something like that?
I don't know about a ground station. If they got a service, we'd figure out how to get an antenna up on the roof. But.
I'm gonna try and get Elon's attention from now on. That's gonna be my next goal, so that we can go ahead and get that mushroom life going somewhere in Center City, Philadelphia. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm gonna give a quick shout out to see if anybody else in the stream wants to jump in with a question. But so far, I mean, I just want to say it's been exciting talking about Starlink. I know everyone here is really excited about and what it can do. I think it's going to be one of those technologies that really changes the game in the next 10 years or so. And it's exciting to hear how Speedify is developing and working to really jump on there too and be at the forefront of it. So, Alex, when do you think you're going to? Well, if you had to take a guess on how long it's going to take before everyone's using Starlink for these kind of connections, what do you think? If you had to make a guess at when it might be available,
I think the whole next year, this thing. I mean, he keeps launching these batches of 60 satellites, and they're putting up based. I mean, they are going full speed, but it's a big world, right?
Yeah.
He's trying to cover everything and put up base stations. I mean, I think the whole next year he's just going to be expanding the footprint that he covers, that they cover. It's not like Elon is doing this by hand.
No, he's going to show up in our buddy Zach's backyard to set up the ground station himself. I think he just show up with his tool set and a pickup truck full of the little mushroom kits. And I think he's going to get to work himself. I think it'd be a great failover op. He should at least think about
it. Ryan, do you have a picture of that Starlink monitor app? It's on GitHub.
For everybody who jumped in, Ryan is the extra social media team member who's working the shadows here.
That's right.
I mean, Zach just chimed in. At this point, I'll have a steak and beer waiting on him. If that doesn't get him to show up, I don't know what will.
I don't think Grimes eats steak and beer. So if she comes, you're gonna have to have something very different.
Well, that's even more for Elon. Then he should be happy.
That's right.
Well, tell you what, I'll show up and I'll try putting it together for you, Zach, and maybe I can have it. But yeah, no, I guess this has been a great talk. I think really excited about Starlink and everything, and I'm sure we'll have more. Especially if we have we'll have that patch up soon. You said sometime within the next 3 weeks, and hopefully we can dive in a little bit more about the new developments that we're working on with. When you said that we had the testing center for Speedify, I was imagining like the Apollo 11. Oh, there we go. We had the graph there. But I was imagining like the training modules they have at like Kennedy Space Center and just running simulations all day. And I like to think that's how we're working on it.
It's all totally virtual. There's just three computers in the corner that are pretending to be 50 computers, some of which are routers and some of which are servers and some of which are internet connections, and they just sit there in the corner, and it's really unimpressive looking, actually. But
no, you didn't have to tell anyone that. They don't see it. You can say it was a whole supercomputer setup. All right. Well then, here's the this is the graphic I believe you were asking for. Thank you, Ryan, of the Starlink connection screen.
Oh yeah, so this is the actual Starlink app, right? So I mean, it walks you through all this stuff, talking to your router, and figures out the signal strength and is it adjusted the right way and all of that. And so Speedify could show anything that the Starlink app shows, formatted however we wanted. We could have more graphs. We could pop up notifications and the signal strength is terrible or whatever, or, sort of anything it does, we could do. But of course, I mean, if there isn't any value there, if everyone's happy using their Starlink app and don't want to mix things up, we don't need to crap up our app with, load.
Well, I don't think there's I can't think of any reason anybody would want to use an app besides the Speedify app, but
that's right.
I'll let those people make a decision for themselves. All right. Well, this has been great. Can't wait for the next update on Starlink and Speedify. One more time, I'm Matt from the social media team. This is our CEO, Alex, and thank you to everyone for jumping in.